Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a sci-fi thriller movie called Epoch. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens in a remote village in Bhutan, where a local couple is mourning the death of their young son. The mother can barely look at the face of her dead child and walks out of their hut. She stumbles around inconsolably and soon drops to her knees. At this moment, a thunderstorm appears nearby and a big chasm opens in the ground. A colossal stony structure emerges from it and begins to float above the surface. Things get even more weird as the kid who had died only a few moments ago wakes up and runs outside to his mother. Seconds later, the stony structure lets out a huge wave that travels throughout the night sky. The scene then cuts to a news report revealing that various parts of the globe have experienced blackouts. Experts have attributed these blackouts to a powerful electromagnetic force emerging from a strange floating rock in the mountains of Bhutan. The US government recognizes the potential significance and danger of the discovery. Thus, they hastily organize a covert mission to investigate the issue. But the decision is made without notifying the government of China, a nation that shares its border with Bhutan. At the headquarters of the National Security Agency, or NSA, an urgent meeting is called. The top brass of the country, including army generals, a few senators, the head of NSA, and several others debate on their future course of action. They decide to launch a combined military and scientific reconnaissance mission to explore the site. Shortly afterwards, Dr. K.C. Saban, a distinguished scientist, is selected to lead the mission. Electrical and structural engineering expert Dr. Mason Reed is also brought on board for technical support. In the meantime, Mason is near the Mexican border, completely unaware of these developments. He is visiting his personal doctor, who reveals concerning news about his health. It turns out that Mason is suffering from Lou Gehrig's disease, or ALS, and barely has 11 months to live. Devastated by the news, the engineer prepares to return home, but gets into a back and forth with some locals on the way. The confrontation turns so sour that one of the men whacks Mason with a pistol. Things would have gotten worse if not for a US military helicopter that suddenly arrives on the spot. The confused and frightened locals run away, while a few soldiers pull Mason into the aircraft. Once he is aboard, Mason is given vague details about an urgent mission. He also meets the head of operations, Dr. K.C., who repeatedly advises him to remain patient until they reach their destination. It doesn't take too long for things to be clear, as a few hours later, they enter the Bhutanese airspace. K.C., Mason, and the other members of the team are stunned to see a giant rock formation levitating in midair. I haven't seen something that dense float since Chris Angel had a TV show. Shortly afterwards, the aircraft lands, and all the team members disembark. It is revealed that the Bhutanese government has granted exclusive permission to the US military to carry out tests around this giant rock. Captain Tower, the head of security around the site, then hands Mason a big load of files. These contain every little bit of data about the mysterious formation. That night, Mason lies down in the open with the files. He spends hours examining images of the rock with the help of a flashlight. One of the photos shows 9 small perforations on the lateral side of the rock. This lights a bulb in Mason's mind, and he immediately connects the dots. It turns out the perforations mimic the 9 planets in our solar system. Even Pluto, that little failure. The following morning, Mason is woken up by Dr. Solomon Holt, the chief medical officer in the mission. The duo quickly head to the camp's temporary health center to meet 2 locals. It is revealed that the woman we saw in the first scene has come to the center with her son. The doctor reveals that mom witnessed her dead son seemingly coming back to life. The kid had died because of complications resulting from diphtheria and dehydration. Mom thinks that the giant rock formation helped the kid emerge from the clutches of death. Remarkably, the child now shows no symptoms of any diseases and looks perfectly healthy. Mason is further astonished as he feels an unusual energy emerging from the child. Following this, Mason heads to the base of operations in the camp, where he meets with Dr. K.C. She briefs him with the latest data and also reveals that the locals have named this giant rock Taurus. Mason, on the other hand, tells her about the 9 perforations on the lateral side. He thinks these indentations are a way into this structure. Despite being skeptical about Mason's theory, K.C. allows him to give it a try. Moments later, the whole team head towards Taurus on an advanced mobile lab mounted upon a military truck. Mason theorizes that the 9 perforations are keys, representing the planets in the Earth's solar system. He then matches the cosmic coordinates of each planet with the indentations. Using 9 metallic probes attached to the mobile lab, he rotates all holes in an anti-clockwise direction. To everyone's surprise, his efforts pay off, and they manage to dismantle a portion of the rock. walk. They now have a huge circular door-like opening leading in to the Taurus. Meanwhile, the US military receives a warning that the Chinese government has detected their presence in the area. They have already dispatched 2 MiG fighter jets to further investigate the site. The NSA control room, aware of this development, asks the scientists to gather information as quickly as possible. However, Captain Tower refuses to let the scientists go inside the structure first. He wants to conduct a security check of the area before anyone else can enter. This causes a little bit of friction between Tower and Mason, but eventually Tower and his men go in, leaving the scientists to monitor events through a security camera. Unfortunately, as the security head and his men make their way deeper into this mysterious rock, things start to get messy outside. The Chinese MiG jets arrive and start circling the area, searching for US troops. An altercation occurs when one of the jets fires at the Taurus, provoking a defensive reaction from the artifact. A huge tentacle-like electromagnetic pulse emerges from the Taurus. It whips out with ferocious speed, destroying the 2 fighter jets in a dramatic display of its power. Inside, Captain Tower and his men experience the full force of the EMP. A white cloud of current and energy gently moves towards the soldiers. Shocked by the encounter, Tower orders his men to immediately open fire, but the cloud reacts by temporarily incapacitating everyone and takes one of the soldiers with it. News of the Chinese MiGs being destroyed soon reaches the NSA control room. The senators are now well aware that this will cause a terrifying scenario which could end up in a full-blown war. The Chinese will think that the Americans shot down their fighter jets. This, combined with the fact that they are carrying out a covert mission so close to China, will be taken as an open threat. Thus, the NSA team asks Dr. KC to get as much information before things can escalate to violence. Back in Bhutan, the security troops manage to retreat from the Taurus and return to the camp. Captain Tower then meets with the rest of the team, recounts the harrowing experience inside, and reveals that they have lost one of their men. Upon hearing this, Mason becomes agitated, leading to a heated confrontation between the two, but they are soon separated when they receive a call from the NSA. Mason seizes the opportunity and reports Captain Tower's actions to the control team. He advocates for himself and Dr. KC to re-enter the Taurus as soon as possible. Luckily, the control team grants permission, allowing them to proceed into the artifact without any military personnel. In the next scene, Mason and Dr. KC delve deeper into the Taurus, navigating through narrow pathways with poor visibility. Outside, NSA agent Alan Lysander arrives at the site with several US military troops. He also notices many Chinese army aircrafts flying through the area. It is obvious that time is running out and the situation is quickly escalating. Back inside, Mason is looking around when KC alerts him to a peculiar phenomenon emerging from nearby. The same cloud of current and energy rapidly approaches and envelops them in bright light. In an extraordinary turn of events, the cloud also leaves behind the soldier it had taken earlier. It then recedes, allowing Mason and Dr. KC to return safely to their camp. Meanwhile, international tensions escalate as the US president demands answers from the NSA regarding the situation. The US also sends its ambassador to China, searching for a more peaceful solution. The Chinese government makes its intentions clear. They want parity and transparency. They demand equal access to whatever discoveries the US troops have made inside the Taurus. The ambassador says that he will relay this request to the US president, but his Chinese counterpart reminds him that this is not a request. If the US fails to be transparent about its findings and research, China will destroy the Taurus through military force. The meeting thus comes to a tense end, further heightening tensions between the two sides. On the other hand, things take a mysterious turn as Mason and Dr. KC head to the camp's clinic. Mason, who had been grappling with ALS, asks Dr. Solomon to give him a thorough medical test. This examination yields an astonishing result. There is no trace of the disease in Mason's body. Overwhelmed by the inexplicable miracle, Mason is moved to tears. He is so excited by getting his life back that he leaps up and passionately kisses Dr. KC. Their romantic moment is soon interrupted by Agent Alan Lysander, who questions their behavior. Mason, still reeling from the miraculous turn of events, attempts to explain that he just got healed from a life-threatening disease. Following this, the team theorizes that the electromagnetic pulse emitted by the Taurus possesses an extraordinary ability to regenerate and rejuvenate biological life. This suggests that the Taurus may even be the spark that created life on Earth in the first place. However, the military leader remains unconvinced and suggests that the safest course of action might be to destroy it. Of course he does, he gets paid to blow shit up. He fears that keeping such a powerful and mysterious object could pose a global threat, but Mason strongly disagrees with this plan and emphasizes that the Taurus could reshape humanity's understanding of existence. Meanwhile, the diplomatic stalemate between the Chinese and US governments continues to escalate. The Chinese military mobilizes and begins circling the site where the US troops in the Taurus are located. A group of Chinese soldiers soon enters the US camp, and both sides are now entertaining the possibility of a conflict right then and there. Suddenly, a US soldier, acting out of fear, fires at the Chinese sergeant who had been speaking for his troops. The situation reaches a fever pitch as everyone braces for the worst. But then, something astonishing happens. As the Chinese sergeant lies wounded, the Taurus emits a strange energy field. The sergeant then miraculously heals within seconds and comes back to life. Everyone witnessing this is left in utter disbelief and shock. It's Chris Angel all over again. The sergeant is convinced that he is experiencing a supernatural event. He thus retreats with his men, leaving the US camp in a state of bewilderment. Soon after, Dr. Casey and Mason embark on another expedition inside the mysterious Taurus. They slowly make their way to the spot where they earlier encountered the cloud. The ball of energy soon finds them and transports them to a completely different plane of existence. The scientists find themselves in a white room, but soon the cloud-like entity materializes before them through a visual representation. It showcases the history of Earth and reveals the aliens' involvement in the evolution of humankind. The entity shows how it has influenced and shaped humanity's development, subtly guiding human progress throughout the ages. Dr. Casey and Mason watch in awe as they realize that the Taurus has previously wiped the Earth clean of all organisms. It then started life anew and gave rise to the humans who eventually populated the entire planet. After this visual presentation, both Casey and Mason are spit out to the very spot that they were standing a few moments ago. They now head back to their base to relay all the information that they just learned. Meanwhile, drastic changes begin to occur in the world outside the Taurus. Scientists observe that the planet is being enveloped in thick clouds, leading to a concerning development. The loss of sunlight will result in the extinction of a large portion of biodiversity, and also the wipeout of all human life. The National Security Agency reports that humanity has only 2 months left before the catastrophic event begins. If a lack of sunlight can do this much damage, then explain gamers. Desperate to prevent this disaster, the US president orders his military to plant a nuclear bomb inside the Taurus and destroy it. In the next scene, Colonel Tell plants a nuclear bomb deep inside the artifact. He then instructs the US soldiers and other crew members to evacuate the area. However, tensions rise when Captain Tower and Agent Lysander, who have grown attached to the mysterious artifact, refuse to leave. They demand that Colonel Tell defuse the bomb, but the latter reveals that it is already too late to stop the detonation process. With time running out, the group hastily makes their way to the last available rescue aircraft. On the other hand, Dr. Casey and Mason also refuse to abandon the Taurus. They make a daring attempt to rush to the bomb's location and deactivate it. Mason utilizes all of his technical expertise to try and disarm the device, but their efforts are futile, and now they only have 3 minutes remaining. They know that they cannot run away to safety, and thus accept their situation. The duo kisses each other, sharing what they believe to be their final moments. As the countdown reaches 0, the bomb detonates, creating an explosion that can be seen from miles away. But in an unexpected twist, the Taurus displays its extraordinary capabilities by absorbing all the energy dissipated by the bomb. No one is hurt, and the explosion is completely gulped down by the Taurus itself. It finally recognizes the selfless actions of Dr. Casey and Mason and decides to leave. The Taurus then sheds its external shell, revealing an energy sphere, which slowly ascends into the sky and departs from Earth. The movie shifts to 4 months later, where Mason has now been fully cured of ALS. He is expecting a baby with Dr. Casey, who had previously been unable to conceive. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.